The story opens back in 1957, called Rocky Mountains of Colorado. Snow covers everything. There is a lonely phone booth. Then a little girl named Hope Adler steps inside and picks up the receiver. When someone answers, her voice trembles as she explains that she has been having strange dreams every night in her dreams, where the number 7 keeps appearing. But before she can say more, the voice on the other end begins to repeat. Then she slams the phone down and runs out of the booth. The story jumps ahead to North Denver in 1982. At a high school playground, a crowd of kids has gathered around a fight. In the middle of the circle, Finn is pounding a boy much older and bigger than him. Later, his sister Gwen confronts him, asking why he went so far. Finn insists the other boy started it. He is acting like a superior and talking like some kind of serial killer. As they're leaving school, a friend named Ernesto runs up to them, excitedly saying he's going to a Duran concert that night. Gwen sighs, wishing she could go, but she doesn't have the money. Ernesto grins and says, "Don't worry, I've got 2 tickets. Come with me." Finn immediately teases them. "So, you two are going on a date now?" Gwen rolls her eyes and says Ernesto's just being nice. That night, Finn sits in front of the TV, uneasy and distracted. Moments later, flashes race through his mind, disturbing images of a man known as the Grabber, moving silently through a dark forest. The scene fades into a flashback. A young boy is on vacation with his family, unaware that in the shadows of the night, a mysterious man is watching him. The boy falls, and the man grabs him. As the boy takes his last breaths, he drags his fingers through, writes a single letter, W. Suddenly, everything disappears. It was only Gwen's nightmare. She wakes up gasping. Just then, the phone begins to ring. She walks toward the sound, hesitant and scared, but she doesn't pick it up. As she turns toward the door, Finn rushes in, grabs her shoulders, and realizes she has been sleepwalking again. Gwen whispers that she had a bad dream. Finn gently tells her to relax and go back to sleep. The next morning at school doesn't go any easier. Gwen's classmates tease her, calling her a witch because her dreams are always strange. That's when Ernesto approaches her with concert tickets in his hand, trying to sound casual. He asks if it's true that she can see things in her dreams. Gwen freezes and demands to know who told him that. Ernesto explains that when the police found Robin's body, his parents said Gwen had described the exact location in a dream. Before she can react, Ernesto quickly adds that he doesn't think she's weird at all. In fact, he likes her. Meanwhile, Finn is standing near a phone booth outside a magazine shop. The phone suddenly starts ringing, and he answers it. The voice on the other end makes no sense, just fragments of sound. Then Finn notices the phone has been disconnected for years. At Alpine Lake, a group of kids are having a picnic. One boy wanders into the woods. A man appears out of nowhere and chases him down. The boy is killed. Just like before, a letter is carved into the snow. The same letter Gwen will see in her dream that night. Gwen wakes up in terror. She bolts outside, and for an instant, she sees the boy's shredded body right in front of her. Panic takes over, and she jumps on her bicycle, pedaling toward the distant sound of a ringing phone. She finds a small opening in an abandoned building and slips inside, racing to the phone. When she picks it up, she hears a girl's voice. It's Hope Adler, the girl from the opening scene. Shaking, Gwen asks how she knows about her dreams and the strange numbers. Hope tries to answer, but the line suddenly goes dead. Gwen senses someone behind her. A door creaks. A shadowy figure walks slowly down the stairs. The phone rings again. At that moment, Finn bursts through the entrance after following her. He asks what she's doing there. Gwen quickly lies and says she was talking to their mom from camp. Then she notices something written on the wall. Grabber burns into hell. She looks down and sees that her socks are soaked in blood. The next day, Finn hands her a pamphlet for the Alpine Lake camp. He tells her that her dreams were real and that they could apply to work as counselors. Gwen refuses, calling the idea insane. Their father steps in and mentions that their mother once worked at the same camp, but it was shut down back in 1958. Even so, Gwen decides she has to go. Ernesto offers to drive. At the very last second, Finn changes his mind and decides to join them. The 3 of them set out together, driving through the long silent roads, covered in snow. Ernesto could barely see the road through the raging snowstorm. The wind slapped against the windshield so hard it felt like the glass might crack. Finn got out of the car first. He walked ahead, guiding Ernesto inch by inch. Out of nowhere, a girl on horseback appeared in the storm. She didn't introduce herself or say a single word. She simply turned her horse and led them through the blinding white. Following her silent path, the 3 of them eventually reached a small camp. There, they met a man named Armando. He explained that the camp had been canceled because of the storm. Finn noticed an old telephone inside one of the buildings. Armando told them each person would need to stay in a separate room for the night. Later, while Gwen slept, Finn stepped outside for a cigarette. Inside her dreams, Gwen saw children laughing and playing in the snow. Then the world twisted. She watched herself carving letters into the ice with her own blood. She woke up screaming. At that same moment, Finn heard the phone ringing again and again. He finally answered it. Meanwhile, Gwen heard whispers coming from under her bed. When she leaned down to look, she saw the bloody face of a dead boy staring back at her. Suddenly, she wasn't in her room anymore, she was inside a phone booth, surrounded by the ghosts of dead children circling in the cold. One of them had its head sliced off right in front of her. She screamed with everything she had. Finn ran to her, wrapped his arms around her, and tried to calm her shaking body. Panicked, she rushed straight into Ernesto's room. I'm having those dreams again, she said. I'm scared to sleep alone. Ernesto let her climb into his bed. Before falling asleep, they prayed together. Gwen whispered to Jesus, begging him to stop showing her these visions. Ernesto heard her voice tremble and woke up fully. She told him her mother had been a Christian too, and she had the same gift, the dreams, the visions. Over time, they drove her into madness. Gwen was terrified the same thing would happen to her. Ernesto held her hand and told her she was strong and beautiful, just like her mother. They leaned closer, their lips almost touching. Finn walked in at that exact moment. He froze in the doorway, having heard every word. The next morning, Finn tried to talk to Gwen. Gwen finally admits that Ernesto already knows everything about her dreams and the strange phone calls. Gwen bursts with anger and yanks at her shirt, revealing scars that match the marks Gwen had seen on the boys in her nightmares. The next morning at breakfast, Armando explains that because of the blizzard, they will most likely be snowed in for another 3 or 4 days. He introduces his niece, Mustang, and the 2 other staff members who work at the camp. Then he studies Gwen and Finn with a curious look and asks how they even managed to arrive here. Their names do not appear on any of the official lists. Gwen explains that their mother used to be a counselor at the camp, but she passed away 7 years ago. At first, Armando seems unsure, but when he really looks at Gwen, his eyes suddenly widen. He whispers the old nickname he once used for her, calling her Starlight, and tells her that she had been here back then as well. When Finn asks about the phone, Armando tells him that the line was disconnected 10 years ago. Yet even as he says the words, Finn hears a faint ring echoing in the distance. He walks alone to the old booth, lifts the receiver, and hears a girl sobbing. She begs for help again and again, saying she does not know where she is. A wave of cold air spreads around him, and he feels the presence of the dead boys gathering near the booth. The girl's voice trembles with the same desperate plea, and then everything goes completely silent. Back home, Finn and Gwen's father is becoming seriously worried. Meanwhile, Gwen begins digging into the history of Alpine Lake, but there is not a single record to be found. When she tries to ask the local authorities about the dead children, they shut her down immediately and tell her that they do not talk about matters like that. That night, while Gwen sleeps, she dreams of her mother standing beside that same phone booth. A boy holding a bear appears, and Gwen runs after him. Suddenly, red feathers drift down from the sky like snow. Another boy steps into her path. The moment Gwen opens her eyes in the real world, a girl is standing outside her bedroom door. The phone begins to ring once more. This time, Finn shakes Ernesto awake. Ernesto goes to look for Gwen, who is again wandering through the snow in her sleep, following the dead boys. Finn lifts the receiver. A voice speaks directly into his ear. The voice on the phone belongs to no one other than the grabber. I'm back, and this time I'm here to take my revenge on you. Meanwhile, Ernesto rushes out to find Gwen. He spots her walking alone down an empty hallway. Without warning, the grabber appears right in front of her. I'm going to make Finn suffer, he growls, and the worst pain will be when I kill you right in front of him. He lunges at Gwen, but just then Ernesto and the others burst into the room. They all freeze as an unseen force throws Gwen against the walls and the floor, lifting her by the throat. Finn races to her side. Ernesto and the rest try to pull her away, but the spirit attacks them too, before it vanishes into thin air. Everyone gathers together, shaken to the core. Barbara insists that Gwen was possessed, but Mustang shakes his head. He thinks something much stranger is happening to all of them. Gwen explains that every death she has seen in her dreams matches exactly the real missing boys. Armando turns pale. The details of the burned boy had been known only to him and the police. Then Finn drops a revelation that stuns them all. I'm that Finny, the one who killed the grabber years ago. Armando pulls out a faded photograph from 1957. Shows the property back when his mother lived there. He admits he bought this land himself and has been quietly investigating the missing boys' cases ever since. Finn looks at the photo and recognizes the grabber immediately. His real name was Will Hickok, known by the initials WBH. Armando explains that strange things began happening here as far back as 1978. Gwen realizes the truth. When the grabber's spirit was freed, the souls of the boys who died with him stayed behind. They still want justice. The police never searched beneath the frozen lake. At last, everything makes sense. The grabber hid the bodies under the ice. They agree to search Lake Maru at first light. Later that night, Armando studies old photographs of the missing boys. He glances out the window and sees a snowman. Suddenly the radio turns on by itself, and Wild Bill's raspy voice fills the room. The lights flicker off. When Armando lifts his flashlight, the snowman is now soaked in blood. Wild Bill's voice threatens him from somewhere in the darkness. Somewhere else, Finn sits alone, lost in his thoughts. Armando finds him and speaks softly. "Don't lock your feelings away, son. Face them." The next morning, the entire group heads to the frozen lake. They spend the whole day cutting through the ice, searching for the bodies. They find nothing. That night, Finn and Ernesto sit beside Gwen as she sleeps peacefully. Ernesto whispers, "Did you ever talk to your brother when you were trapped in that basement? And what was the old man really like?" Finn says their father was a Vietnam veteran, a man who never abandoned his friends. So how could he have ever abandoned his own son? Somewhere else, a young boy rides his bike through a snowy neighborhood, delivering newspapers with his dog trotting beside him. The tires slip on a patch of ice, and just then, a black van glides past. Inside, a man is standing, holding a bunch of black balloons. At that exact moment, Mustang jolts awake from a terrifying nightmare. Later, Gwen slips back into another dream. This time, she sees Mustang frantically searching through a drawer. Then, walking straight to the spot where the man with the balloons had stood. Gwen watches as her mother peers through a window and discovers a dead body. Suddenly, the grabber appears. He attacks Gwen's mother and drags her into the van. Inside, she sees not only the grabber, but also her mother. He's taking her to the same place where, years ago, he killed Gwen's mother. Gwen's father had been shattered by his wife's death. Now, the grabber's spirit wants to destroy Gwen too. She hides in a corner as the phone rings again. When she tries to escape, the grabber strikes her hard. Blood runs down her face. A ghostly boy opens the basement door and helps her flee. In the real world, everyone is desperately trying to wake Gwen up. The phone rings again while Armando searches the frozen lake for the missing boys. The grabber attacks him, breaks through the ice, and traps Gwen inside the phone booth. Armando plunges into the freezing water, struggling to breathe. The grabber wraps the phone cord around Gwen's neck and starts choking her. That's when Gwen finally realizes the grabber isn't controlling her, she still has power in her dreams. With every ounce of strength, she shatters the phone booth with her mind and breaks free. Gasping, she wakes up, runs outside, and pulls Armando from the icy water. Miraculously, he's still alive. Later, Mustang meets the spirits of Barbara and Robin. She begs them to help them find the rest of the lost children. Gwen stands alone until Finn and their father arrive. They warn her that the grabber will never let her go and tell her to come home. But Gwen stops them and reveals the painful truth. Her voice trembles as she says, "Mom didn't commit suicide." Everyone freezes. She continues, "I saw a dead boy in her dreams, and the grabber killed her because of it." Then, she turns to her father and repeats the same words he once cried out in guilt. "What have I done?" In that moment, they all realize Gwen's dreams were never just dreams, they were real. The next morning, another boy's body is pulled from the lake. Gwen kneels and prays, asking Jesus to help her find the remaining children and to take away the grabber's power forever. As night falls, Gwen lies down and closes her eyes, ready to face the grabber in her dreams one last time. Finn knows exactly what she's planning. In her dream, the grabber skates across the frozen lake, swinging an axe. When he charges at Robin, Gwen dives beneath the ice. She sees another body trapped below just as the grabber attacks Barbara and Robin. Gwen grabs a drum and slams it against the ice, cracking it wide open. The grabber tries to toss another body into the lake, then starts choking Finn. Ernesto throws himself in front of Gwen to protect her, while Finn fights the grabber hand to hand. Gwen and her father pull the boys' frozen bodies from beneath the lake. Gwen begins reciting Bible verses, her voice echoing across the frozen air. The moment she finishes, the spirits of the dead boys rise from the icy depths. Grab the grabber. Finn smashes the grabber's face against the ice again and again until it's unrecognizable. Then he hacks off the monster's legs and throws his body into the lake. The spirits pull him down into the dark water, freezing him there forever. Gwen wakes up and kisses Ernesto a long, relieved kiss. It's finally over. Armando calls the parents of the missing boys, telling them their children's bodies have been found in the lake. Finn and Gwen pack up and prepare to leave Alpine Lake behind. Just as they're about to go, The phone rings one last time. Gwen answers. It's her mother's voice, soft, peaceful, and full of love. I'm in a beautiful place now. Thank you, Gwen. You freed me. You were never a curse. And I love you and Finn so much. Tears fill Gwen's eyes. She turns to Finn and whispers, it was Mom. She was on the other side of the line. Together with Finn and their father, Gwen walks away from Alpine Lake for the last time. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.